which tight ends have shown us some reasons to be worried heading into 2023? Let's find out. So let's get to the first one. It's a big name. And yes, there is still reason to be concerned about Mark Andrews heading into next season.
Yes, and let's start with the biggest reason for me, and that is Lamar Jackson. If everything was normal in Baltimore and Lamar Jackson was coming back, I'd feel fine about Mark Andrews next year. But things aren't normal in Baltimore, and it really doesn't seem like Lamar Jackson is coming back. He didn't even travel with the team to their playoff game, and then after the game, he sent out some tweeted message about being appreciated and what you appreciate grows and things like that. It really doesn't sound like Lamar Jackson even wants to come back to the Baltimore Ravens, and we saw Mark Andrews without Lamar Jackson this year. It wasn't pretty. If it's not Lamar Jackson next year, who are we looking at? Another year of Tyler Huntley? Are we looking at some cast-off veteran quarterback? It seemed like for a long time that this Baltimore team was one of the best coached, best run teams, and it doesn't feel that way anymore from top to bottom. I still think Mark Andrews is a great player. He's still a great tight end, but the situation looks terrible for him going into next year. Maybe they'll work it out with Lamar Jackson and things will be okay, but until then, gotta be worried about Mark Andrews.
Was far from elite. People were benching him throughout the fantasy playoffs. And look, you didn't miss anything because he still did not score a touchdown the entire second half of the season. Finished as the tight end 4 overall in PPR scoring. You think, well, that's not that bad. It's not too far off. But are we going to assume he's going to get better, or could it be another step down? Let's say even best case scenario is Lamar Jackson does come back. This Ravens team has got to bring in some sort of a wide receiver. Rashad Bateman is going to be back. They've got to bring somebody else in. And we know that tight ends thrive when they are the main, sometimes the only viable option in the passing game. They just can't go on like this. I think they've seen clearly that they can't do that. No matter who it is, I don't see Andrews being this target hog. And look, if it's anybody other than Lamar Jackson, I can't feel great about him. Just have this feeling he's going to be overdrafted again next season. So I'm definitely worried about pulling the trigger on him anytime soon in the top of the draft. Another tight end we thought would be elite, and he was good, not great. Don't feel great at all about Dalton Schultz heading into next year because there are no guarantees that he will be a Cowboy.
That's the big concern here for me. Andrews, it was who is his quarterback going to be? And I guess it's the same with Dalton Schultz because he might not be, like you said, on the Cowboys. What team is he going to be on? What's the situation going to be like? And even if the Cowboys do something crazy like franchise tag him, it wasn't like he was putting up huge numbers week in and week out. Yes, he had some nice games, but he also had some games where he just really didn't get targeted very much, not the way we expected it. Michael Gallup should be healthier next year, so even if he does stay with the Cowboys, going to be more competition for targets there. A lot of risk here with Dalton Schultz. We talked about it if you watch our video about our fantasy mistakes. I really am just going Travis Kelce or completely punting the position because when you look at the tight ends behind Travis Kelce, they weren't difference makers. Even the good ones like TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Kittle, they weren't difference makers over the entirety of the season. So Dalton Schultz wasn't even really a difference maker very much when he was on the field. Now with the uncertainty of where he might be playing next year, just an easy avoid for me at this point.
And if he goes anywhere else, I doubt it's an upgrade for him. He was just on the Cowboys team that was the 3rd highest scoring offense in the NFL last season and 9th in passing touchdowns. You don't get much better of a situation than that. Look, maybe he goes somewhere, he'll be the guy, right? The number 1 tight end, a team starved for a target. It doesn't mean it'll be a better situation necessarily. If he does stay in Dallas, I do think also this Cowboys offense, you got to worry that they're going to go out and seek another wide receiver. I think that's what they really want. James Washington didn't work out as a free agent. They drafted Jalen Tolbert. That definitely didn't work out. Signed a guy like Kevontae Turpin. Didn't do anything on offense. They're going to look for another receiver. They've been talking about Odell Beckham making a trade. You know Jerry Jones loves his receivers, and so they're going to bring in some help. I don't see Dalton Schultz really being a guy who's going to get the kind of target share he got this year when healthy. Fine as a late round pick maybe, but if you're expecting numbers like he put up this year, don't see it happening. And the guy we should definitely be concerned about if he plays, when he plays, is Zach Ertz.
I don't even know if I have to deep dive this one. I mean, 32 years old, coming off a multi-ligament ACL tear in an offense that's going to look drastically different next year without Cliff there, without this air raid offense. Who knows when Kyler Murray's going to be back to start the season and healthy? I mean, do I really need to explain why we should be panicked about Zach Ertz? I don't think Zach Ertz is even going to be on my radar at tight end next year, assuming he's even back and ready to start the season.
So in his own words, he says that he hopes to be ready for week 1 of next season, but can't guarantee it at this point. Usually the player themselves are the most optimistic. He knows it's not happening, right? I'm not going to be ready to start the season, and even if he does, he will be limited at best. Let's assume that everything goes great and perfect in recovery, and he misses a week or two, or maybe he is ready for week 1. You're talking about a team that has a quarterback who's also coming off major injury and might not be ready for week 1. We don't know what this offense will really look like. There's just so many question marks here. I'll tell you, I'm one who says that Cliff Kingsbury being gone, to me, that actually is good for the franchise long term, but there will be an adjustment period. I don't know that they're going to hire somebody who's just going to make this offense all of a sudden click, especially when all these guys are coming off injury. Too many question marks. Ertz has been a great tight end in his time, but at this point, you've got to opt for more upside elsewhere. Look for a guy in a far more stable situation. So those are some tight ends we're worried about. Who are the guys we are high on? These are the tight ends who are skyrocketing up draft boards. Check it out